Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Good, man. First, I want to ask you a violation question. Championship week, is it a violation to just go to your opponent and say, look, buddy, it's the Christmas, let's just split the pot and not even worry about these games? Is that a violation, Jeff?
The old chop, the pre-flop chop.
Yes.
That is normally done with more like your survivor pools, but I could see that you possibly work out a side deal. I've seen it done in major DFS contests before as well, so it's not unheard of, but it kind of, I would leave some of it to be determined by the game, but maybe you can work out a deal for the rest of it.
All right, let's go strategy, too, for this championship week, Jeff. Is it just rolling with the guys who got you here? Again, is it boom or bust type guys? If you see that your opponent has, I don't know, Antonio Brown, should you pick up the Steelers kicker to try and steal some points that way? How about strategy-wise for this championship week, Jeff?
Well, this is the week that a lot of people overthink, and sometimes you do overthink it, but the main goal, remember how you got there. That's number one. Scoring as many points as possible. But you are in a head-to-head matchup, and sometimes if you're the underdog, if you look at your lineup and say, that team's much better than mine, that's when you got to get those boom or bust guys, the guys like Martavis Bryant or Wheaton that could have a big 2-touchdown, 100-yard game, or could just put up a zero. So those are kind of the boom or bust you got to shoot for. As far as matching up kickers and quarterbacks, I don't go that route, but I will look at, if he's got, if he has Roethlisberger, maybe I'll start Heath Miller instead of Jason Witten, just because maybe if he throws to Miller, it kind of offsets some Big Ben points.
Or maybe handcuff options if the guy's running with, Danny Woodhead because of some injuries. Do you maybe pick up Donald Brown off the waiver wire? I know he's been kind of a popular pickup this week, right?
I really wouldn't go with Donald Brown. I don't see any value for one versus the other. I think they're really independent. If I was going to handcuff anybody to Woodhead, I'd handcuff Phillip Rivers because, again, in the past, most of the touchdowns that Woodhead had last week were receptions.
How about the issue, Jeff, of, look, these teams are pretty much locked up in the playoffs. I mean, Carolina's undefeated. They're locked up. New England, some of these big-name teams are locked up with playoff spots. Do you worry about these coaches pulling their guys, in the first half if they have a 2-touchdown lead? Do you worry about the rest factor, Jeff?
Not this week, which is why a lot of championships are on week 16 instead of 17. We get that debate every year this time of year. But as I went through all the games, I read a column called For the Win where I looked at each game with football guys and picked them against the spread and so on. As I went through each game, I see motivation for every team. Carolina has to get a bye. Arizona's pushing them. Minnesota needs to get to the number 5 spot instead of the number 6. So every team has motivation, even if they've clinched a playoff spot. No one is completely settled in their slot yet. So I think that everybody's playing for something this weekend.
Hey, Jeff, we have a big game coming up, obviously, in Philadelphia on Saturday with the Redskins and Eagles. From a fantasy perspective, what do you think of Kirk Cousins in this game? His splits from home to the road are pretty wild. But on the other hand, the Eagles' defensive backfield is really, really banged up. So if you don't have a Cam Newton or a Tom Brady or a Big Ben, would he be a good option this week?
I think he would. I have him more of a quarterback 2 versus quarterback 1 with upside. I would actually look at it's riskier, but I would go like a Jameis Winston against the Bears, who are terrible. That's not a bad play if you're looking to pick somebody up. The guy I like, and again, I worry about the motivation here, is Blake Bortles against the Saints. I think he's a top 5 quarterback this week, but Jacksonville just lost their playoff possibility. So how motivated will they be? Kirk Cousins, though, I think against the Eagles, Washington could run the ball more. They could very well go Alfred Morris heavy, but given that game and given what Cousins did the first time they matched up and how he had that last-second touchdown to steal a game at home, I think Washington's going to be amped up because they know if they win, then they win the division. So Washington's going to be playing for keeps on Saturday night.
Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, fantasy football fix. How about the situation in Denver, Jeff? All season long with their running backs, C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, not much there. But how about in the case of Brock Osweiler and Peyton Manning, any of those guys worth a start?
The one
against
guy
Cincinnati?
I'd be looking at is Ronnie. I would go with Ronnie Hillman if you got to pick one guy. That said, I don't love him against the Bengals. I think that you're going to see a lot of offense. It's going to look like the Pittsburgh-Denver game a lot. I think you're seeing more defense because A.J. McCarron is trying to force him to throw the ball, but if you're trying to get both backs involved and get Gio Bernard and some screens, I think Osweiler is going to step up in this game. But the running game is going to be a mixed, muddled backfield for Denver. I don't trust any one running back for the Broncos just yet.
All right, Jeff. I showed you my team yesterday. I texted you my guys. I got my running backs are Gurley, Ryan Matthews starting so far, but I was able to pick up Artis Payne from Carolina, Donald Brown from San Diego. How do you assess my running back situation there, Jeff? Not good.
I think I would go with I think Ryan Matthews is the top 15 option. I like him, don't love him. I put Todd Gurley in the same category. I like him. He's a good talent. He's playing Seattle. It's tough. Artis Payne would be my third choice, but he's not seeing a lot of volume. I could see Cam, running the ball in himself. So I don't trust Donald Brown at all. So I would probably go with Gurley and Ryan Williams on those two.
Now, Jeff, out of Pete's myopic world, the running back position as a whole, when you get late in an NFL season, a lot of the big names are banged up. So at that particular position, who are some of those under-the-radar guys you recommend?
There's not we mentioned Artis Payne as a pickup. The guy I kind of like this week, which is a little under the radar, is Alfred Blue in Houston. He may be available. If he is, I would definitely go pick him up. He had 100 yards last week. Houston's banged up at the quarterback position. They're playing Tennessee. Not a great defense. They're a little bit better against the run. I think Blue could have a decent game. After that, maybe Antonio Andrews for Tennessee, but the picking started to get slim after that. But maybe Jeremy Langford against Tampa Bay for the Bears. But you're really picking and choosing from, Christine Michael is probably the only other option. But again, Seattle against St. Louis, I'm not sure how much he'll be in the mix.
All right, Jeff, wide receivers, I need two. I got Martavis Bryant, Doug Baldwin, Kamar Aiken, T.Y. Hilton, and Emmanuel Sanders. I need two, but I could also flex a guy. So really three out of that group, Jeff.
Well, I think you got to go with Doug Baldwin. The hot hand is definitely one there. Emmanuel Sanders, he's going to see a lot of targets. I think T.Y. Hilton is probably the third. He's probably going to get some good matchup against Miami. Don't love the matchup, but all three of those guys we have in the top 30. Kamar Aiken is the fourth one. Let's see. I would put Aiken above Hilton of those three. So I would go with Aiken and Sanders, and then I'd put Doug Baldwin as my number one choice.
And remove Martavis Bryant or keep him in there?
I don't see him getting enough volume, enough targets on a consistent basis to be worthwhile. He'd be more of a flex wide receiver 3, so I put him down on the list.
All right, question from a listener. And, again, if you have a question for Jeff Pasquino, text ESPN and your question to the number 89,000. Flex spot, Artis Payne, Christine Michael, Sammy Watkins, or Jeremy Maclin?
I like Maclin and Watkins. I think that Buffalo might run the ball more this week. I really like Macklin's matchup, so I'd probably go Maclin.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Who are some of the guys that you're recommending this week, Jeff, for championship week?
Well, you got to have Mike Evans in there. I think the Tampa Bay, I mentioned Jameis Winston. I think Mike Evans is a good pickup. So is Austin Seferian-Jenkins at tight end. Wide receivers to get a little thinner. We mentioned Aiken before. I think Ruben Randall. Odell Beckham, word I just heard. I think Jaworski just tweeted this out, but I think that the suspension's been overturned. But We'll see. So Ruben Randall, I think if he's either way, he's in the mix. But now he's not a wide receiver 1 and more of a wide receiver 2. I do like Will Tye. I do like Kyle Randolph. I like Randolph, Minnesota against the Giants. Giants are bad against the tight end. So is the Saints. So I like Julius Thomas there as well. And I like all the Jacksonville passing game, as I mentioned earlier.
Are you a fan, Jeff, of in a must-win game starting some guys on Thursday Night Football or this time of the year, Saturday Night Football, or are you really better off and more comfortable, I guess, waiting until the usual Sunday or even Monday, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't matter so much, but if I am looking through my lineup and pick a couple guys on Thursday or Saturday and see how they perform above or below expectations, that may influence later decisions if I go for more home runs or if I go more conservative. So, if I play on sites where I'm allowed to change the lineup, which I prefer, after a Thursday or Saturday kickoffs for guys who haven't played yet.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Enjoy the games this weekend, Jeff. Happy holidays to you. And next week, hopefully we can catch up, do a little year-in review of the fantasy football season in 2015. Jeff, happy holidays to you again.
Happy holidays to you and your listeners, and everyone enjoy the games.